Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to RevKev RC. I am, of course, RevKev. Today's video is going to be about this empty space in the bumper here. We're going to put something there, and it looks like we're supposed to put a winch right there, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, my favorite winch is the Traxxas winch. Now, this video is not about this winch, but I do want to tell you why. This is the only winch that I know of that has free spool. This lets you pull out the lead freely without running the motor and having to wait for it, just like a real winch. It also can run direct power from your battery source or your receiver, whichever one you choose. Now, I'm going to direct power this thing from 3S. So it has its own little antenna. Its receiver is contained within, and Traxxas sells parts to rebuild it. And it's actually really strong. And you can buy this without the remote. The hobby town that I went to did not have the one without the remote. That thing sells for like $80. This is $100. Now they did go ahead and give it to me for the price of just the winch without the remote because they didn't have the one in stock. But the reason why I'm pointing that out is because if you have one of these that has at least one remote, you can pair the one remote with every single one of these that are on different RCs just by pressing that button and pressing that button on there, and it will bind and link up instantaneous. So anyway, what I'm going to do is first figure out how to mount it in there. But because this truck, this definitely not a Gladiator, this just kidding 07 Pro, it can run on 4S. This is got the brushless system in it, so it can run on 4S. It runs just fine on 3S. I guess it runs 2 to 4S, but I'm never going to run on 2S. That seems boring. So the problem that I'm fixing to overcome here, and I'm going to show you, is I'm going to direct power this straight to the battery, so it doesn't interfere with the amount of amps and voltage that's pulled to the or from the ESC via the receiver, right? So I don't want brownout. And if you don't know what brownout is, it's sort of like other parts of the car are pulling amps and voltage away from like things. So you might get your, say if you have your servo is under a load, it's bound up, and you're running your winch, which is likely, and you're running all your lights, which is also likely. The ESC does not put out enough voltage and amperage to make that not be a problem. So you'll get weaker everything, and sometimes your lights will go out or they'll blink or they'll dim or whatever. So in any case, I'm going to avoid that. Traxxas has made this winch to where it can run up to a 3S power source. So that's another reason why I really like it. So what I'm going to do, since I want to run this thing on 4S, and I'm going to pause the video real quick and get this thing popped open and propped open so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, I got it all propped open here with this very convenient heat shrink tubing container kind of propped up in there. So that's pretty handy. All right, so I've got my 4S battery in here. This is what you typically find. This is a Hobby Town. I think it's a Hobby Town brand because this is the only place I've ever seen these. These are pretty decent batteries. I've abused them quite a bit, and they tend to keep on going. So I run this truck on 4S or 3S, but probably 4S most of the time. But what I'm going to do is I solder a connection into this lead here that comes out. It's going to be one of these. So it's going to come out of here like that. So I can plug the winch straight into it. And it will get whatever power of the batteries coming from, right? Because that's going to be plugged into there. This will take that power on its way into the ESC. But I can't do that on a 4S battery. So I'm going to have this here waiting. If I run a 3S battery in here, I can plug my winch straight into here. Now, in order to be able to run 4S, I am going to change this connector to the IC5. These are the EC. Yeah. Okay, there you go. EC3. I'm going to change this to an IC3, which is just Spectrum's little proprietary description, because I like these better, and it'll enable me to add a similar connector on the back side inside these holes the same way as I'm going to do on the truck's ESC. So that will enable me to power this to an independent 3-cell battery that I will just probably add some Velcro to and then have it sit like right there. There's plenty of room, so I can just have it Velcroed right in there and then be able to plug the winch directly into it. Might even put it up here. There's actually quite a bit of room. If you look right there, maybe I'll use a strap, a Velcro strap, and have it go like this, right next to the servo. That'll give me some more forward weight, and it's also kind of sits really nicely. So probably what I'll do, now that I've kind of mocked this up live with you guys watching, what I will likely do is make some slits in this plastic here to have it run left and right, and then put a Velcro strap right in there so I can set that battery in there and strap it down. That'll look real clean, and again, it'll give me that forward weight. So I'll have to mount the winch in here and find the way the holes line up, and that'll be perfect. And then I can just choose which power source I want to use. Independent battery, 3S. This will be that dedicated battery for it, since I'm going to solder that lead onto it. Or I could run 3S for the whole truck and then have it plug straight into the lead that comes off the battery into the ESC. So there will be no brownout. The Traxxas winch will get all the power that it wants, and it won't be interrupted by trying to make it through the whole system and then share that power coming from the receiver. So that's the way I like to do things when I do winches. I'm going to swap them. I'm going to take this sticker off because I'm not going to represent Traxxas winch. I mean, they're good. Everybody, if you used them, you probably have a good opinion of them, but I'm going to put a Warren sticker on it because why not? You should. Anyway, I think these are really good. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, stop it, edit this out, do whatever, and get things set up to start doing this, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing. All right, with the help of movie magic, good old cell phone, got you all set up here. If I can get this wire to get out of the way, rotate that. If you don't know how to solder, I highly suggest you learn. You'll be able to do a whole lot more stuff in this hobby without having to run off to the hobby shop to get them to help you. So, and I'll put a link in this in the video description if you want to get one of these. It's on Amazon. I think I paid about $60 for this. I think it's it gets hotter than hell, and in my opinion, if you have a soldering iron that does not get hot enough, you are going to be frustrated. Yeah, you probably don't need this much heat to do this, but it always works for me, and I move quick. Anyway, you can buy, you could use these. I don't typically use these. These are like the helping hands or whatever. Sometimes I use them. Mostly I just kind of pin them up out of the way. But I will use, I think it's a vice grips. And I'll use these to hold parts down because they got enough weight to hold it still. You know, you're just doing some water, some soldering on some wire. So, all right. When doing this, Traxxas gives you, get it to open. There we go. They give you everything you need for their system. We're not using their system, but what you'll notice is if you look at this and say compare it to something like this, you can feel the gauge of the wire, how much thicker and more dense the wiring is in here than something like a standard JST. This is very flimsy. Now, they likely did this on purpose. So what I'm going to do, because I have another one right here from a previous build, is I'm going to use their wire because, I mean, hell, you can see it. This one's already cut, so you can see it. You can see the Traxxas wires have just got more material. It's thicker, beefier, and better. So if I'm going to be running 3S power through these wires, I'm going to use the heavier duty gauge. So I'll be cutting this to make my parts here. So just as an example, you could probably use this and it'll probably be fine, but I'm not going to. Let me go and get my water from my sponge. Went ahead and got my sponge wet. Did it off camera. Again, just pause the video. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut this connector off because this does not allow me to fit one of these in here. I might be able to just open this up and do it, but that's not nearly as clean, and you'll see whenever I get done how good this turns out. Something to consider, all right? Anytime you're messing with batteries, this is not something we can get around. It is absolutely, I mean, it's dangerous, but what I'm getting at here is don't cut both of these at the same time, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to close the connection and you're going to have a bad day. So cut them one at a time, and I'm going to cut them as close to the connector as I can because I don't want to lose a bunch of this. If I really felt like it, if this were already very short, I would just use some kind of a tool and tap these out and pull it, and then. But I'm not losing very much, so I'm not super worried about it. So I'm going to make sure that I'm cutting it in this orientation, not like this, to avoid any over grabbing, so I don't accidentally hit the other wire. So I'm doing like that, cutting, and then I'm going to take this and fold it down out of the way so it cannot accidentally touch this one up here. All right, so that's going straight into the garbage. There you go. All right, now, in keeping with the idea of being more safe with this, I'm only going to expose the end of one of these leads at a time. So just decide which one you're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do the power. So again, we'll fold this one out of the way. I'm only going to expose about 1/4 inch. You can use a pocket knife. You can use one of these. Yeah, about like that. All right. I'm going to take that just like it is. And this is one of those instances where I am going to use the helping hand that comes with this thing. Let's see, I'll probably use that one. So all I'm going to do, now I'm going to pre-solder the end of this. This is probably too high, but as long as you're moving, you know, relatively quickly, it should be just fine. Let me go ahead and fix this. All right, now that we got you guys a good view here, I'm trying not to block the camera, but all I'm doing here is getting some solder on this before I attempt to put it on the lead or on the connection. So if you can see it, how it's kind of shiny, got a little dome on there, that's kind of all you need. All we're trying to do is help the heat transfer whenever I go to put it inside of this. So we're gonna let that one be. Stop right there. Now we're gonna do the positive side. And this is kind of an industry standard. You'll see that there's a positive right here. And on this side, that's a negative. It looks like a mold marking, but that is a negative, right? So all I'm going to do is take my vice grips, close them down a little bit. I'm just going to clamp just enough to hold it still. I don't want to crush it. Just enough. Yeah, that's barely in there. I can still move it. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the right there. And put it down right there in frame. Get these out of the way for the minute. And just like I did with the positive side of the battery lead, I'm just going to kind of fill this in with some solder. Just like that. Super duper easy. And it'll look kind of like this. A little bit of pool. All right, and while I'm here, there's no safety problem with doing the other side while you already have it, doing the negative side. So I'm just going to do that. All right. That one's done. Got a good little bit of solder in there to get started. All right. Flip it back over. You'll see that we're on the flat side. That's what I was trying to get at before. It's an industry standard that the flat side of the connector, as opposed to the round side, that is the positive side. I've never seen it not that way for the EC5 and the IC5 and 3. Any of the ones in the, I guess, the IC or EC series. That goes the same for the speed control side or the battery side. So pay attention whenever you're putting these on your ESCs and your batteries. Because if you get it wrong, that might be an expensive mistake. All right. There's our positive. So our battery positive has already got some solder on it. We have a soldering iron that gets plenty hot. Now I'll tell you what. Let's pause that real quick. I'm going to grab one of these. Okay. Now I'm going to take this and thread it through here like this. Remember, obviously red is positive and black is the negative. That is really tight. All right. I'm going to make this hole just a little bit wider. Man, I wish this was longer. We're going to make it work though. It's going to be very, very tight. As in, there won't be much plug sticking out. All right. This is where we are right now. Push this up. So the idea, and you can see where I'm getting set up here, is I'm going to solder these in at the same time. Right there. So what you can do, I'll take my little helping hand here. And make sure that these are squeezed together. I want this right over the top, right there. There we go. Now we zoom back in. All right. So these two are together. While I have them like that, give her some more solder. All right, so now there's a big bubble. Big bubble of solder holding those together. And now when I put this down in here, again, on the positive side, tighten that up a little bit. Still in frame? Yeah. All right. Because this is so short, so once I get like this, now that both sides have solder, I should be able to just heat that up a little bit, touch it. That moved. It's on there. Let me get a better look at it. That is pretty ugly. All right. I've done worse, so I'm not going to complain. I don't want to do that. I just do not have a lot of freedom to work with this thing because everything's so short. But I am going to add some solder down in here. It's just not quite enough. Like, I think it would function, but yeah, don't breathe that in. All right. She's pretty ugly, but I think it'll function. Now, oh, yeah, not good, but it'll work. That's why I like these, because once you snap this up here, no one knows. So rotate this around. Yeah. See if I can get this off of here without. Oh, that wasn't that bad. Alright. Yeah, it's like every bit of this wants to fight me because it's all very tight. All right, let's have a peek at our monstrosity. So that's got decent coverage. I'm going to call that good enough. Yeah. Good enough for me. That's pretty warm. All right, so now, as long as these don't stick out too far, I should be able to push this up here and cover all this ridiculousness up. And it should look just fine. That is warm. All right. So we got our winch power set up, and it looks pretty good. So I'll demo this for you real quick. We'll show you. So we got the winch right here. Just plug it in. Power and ground. Got the remote. Pull that battery tab. Free spool. That's one of the main reasons I like this thing. Plus, it is really strong. And you can direct power it to a 3S battery like I've just shown you. So I'm going to do the exact same thing to the ESC in the JK-07 with one of these on the ESC side of the plug. It'll be exactly like this, but it'll be the EC5 or IC5. And I'm probably not going to film that because it's just like this, but actually easier because things are a little bit bigger. I'm just going to call this part one of the winch install. And this will be, of course, about the soldering. This is not intended to teach you how to solder. I'm just trying to show you my methods for doing things like this, especially with the Traxxas winch, and why this thing is so attractive. It does not require a separate receiver. It's all in here. It's rebuildable. You can buy the parts at the hobby shop. And if you have one remote, you can just buy the winch, and it's only $80. And it's the only winch that I know of on the market that has free spool. So that's very cool to me. So I'm going to take this off and put a Warren sticker on. It'll be one of these small ones. That's way too big. So might put a big one on the actual RC itself. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope that even if you didn't learn anything on how to solder, because I guess I didn't really talk much about it, just kind of demonstrating it. And maybe I demoed that you can do a ugly solder job, but it will still work. And, you know, if you've got this on a hobby grade RC, you wouldn't even know that it kind of looks like dog poop. But, you know, the solder's there. There's plenty of it. It's got a good connection. And this battery can be used for other RCs as well. But this battery will be my dedicated winch battery for the JK-07 whenever I'd want to run 4S, which would be probably a lot. So anyway, thanks for coming by. I'll put a link in the description for this soldering system. It was on Amazon. It's pretty cheap, but I've used it a ton. Before I got this, I kind of thought that I was never going to be able to solder, but even me kind of bumbling around, it's not hard. And you can buy this at, well, anywhere that sells soldering stuff, but they sell this at a Hobby Town. So this is my second roll. I've gone through quite a bit of it. In any case, it gets up to 896 degrees, which is a lot. I didn't need this. I didn't even need the temperature that I was using it for. But we'll see you in part 2. Thanks for coming by. Give me a like, share, all that good stuff that YouTube thinks is important.